Hello and welcome to another edition of Sunspots. I'm your host, Evan Cooke, as always joined by head coach of the Okanagan Sun, Ben Macauley, to talk about the week that was. This was week number 2 of the BC FC regular season, which saw the Sun put up a shutout on home field, 36-0 over the Kamloops Broncos. Coach, thanks for stopping by again. Let's talk a little bit about that big win, a lopsided one on the scoreboard, but it was a close game for much of it, especially in the first half. What were your thoughts on the victory on Saturday?
Well, we executed from the start really well, especially defensively. Offensively, we made some great strides and executed pretty well, except for red zone penalties became an issue in the first half. I think we had 3 touchdowns called back. So, the scoreboard might have indicated a little bit closer, but I don't think they ever threatened us in scoring territory. So we kind of had a sense that we had control of the game, but we needed to clean up some of those messes, and we did that after half.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point. You bring up the penalties, and obviously I was going to ask you about that here. What were your thoughts when you looked back at film of that in terms of do you need to do things differently in practice in terms of focusing on discipline? Were there calls that could have gone either way? What were your feelings after watching some of those back?
Some of both. Some of the calls were, in our opinion, questionable, but we have the luxury of going back and looking at film. The refs on the field don't have that luxury, so they're doing their best job that they can do at the time. But our guys executed in some cases so well that it looked like a penalty. So we'll take those flags any day because we're establishing our physical dominance, which is something that we challenge our guys to do every week. The other side of it is just not so much a discipline issue because they weren't personal fouls, they weren't objectionable conducts, they were holding and just hand placement and a little bit of laziness that crept in. So we've got to be in better condition, and we've got to be a little bit tighter on that stuff when we see it in practice.
In terms of defense, obviously you pitched a shutout, so almost enough said there, but what worked so well in terms of really limiting Kamloops to not really getting much going on offense at any point in that game?
Well, we did a great job, and we were aided by a couple of drop balls by their receivers, plays that they could have turned into first downs or more. So that helped us a little bit, but the thing I was most impressed with was the number of guys going to tackle. So it wasn't just 1 or 2 guys in on a tackle, it was 8, 9, 10 guys around the ball. And that's something we challenge the guys throughout the week is how many guys can we get around that football, because that creates turnovers, creates opportunities to make big plays where otherwise you're not in a position to take advantage of. So it's something that we definitely focused on, and our defense was pretty sound in assignment.
Given that, I mean, the team's given up 15 points over 2 games now. Is the defense further along than you had thought they would be at this point in the season?
No, just with the guys we have and what they're capable of, we're pretty much right on track where we should be. We're going to continue to be tested, and we're battling with some injuries from previous weeks that we're having second stringers step up and make plays too. That's probably the biggest surprise for us is the younger guys and the newer guys who are stepping in and making big plays and we weren't really sure what they were capable of. So now we have an idea, which gives us a lot of depth as we get healthy.
In terms of getting healthy, what's your update on that? Because obviously the switch we saw on Saturday night was Keith out and Nick in, but there's a couple guys that are still on the shelf. How healthy is the team at this point?
Well, last week we had 16 guys out with injury, which is not too high of a number for this time of year. Guys are kind of a little bit banged up, and some of them we just don't want to push too hard. Keith's kind of taking it day to day here. We're not going to push him back, especially with Nick as the number 2 stepping into the number 1 spot and really not missing a beat. We're in no rush to push Keith to come back. We just want to take it easy with him and get him back. It's a long season. We do everything right. We'll be playing into November, so we've got to look at the big picture and not just game by game. So when Keith's ready, he'll be back in there. Until then, Nick's doing a great job of filling in and not just doing his job, but doing more than he's asked of.
Yeah, it really seemed like the offense on Saturday didn't really miss a beat despite that change. Was that the feeling that you and your coaches had as well?
Yeah, and when we knew we were going to sit Keith, it was early in the week, we didn't really hesitate to give Nick the first team reps because he's been doing a great job throughout spring and throughout training camp that mentally he was prepared. and that's the number one thing. Does a great job of managing the game and taking care of the football. Our big goal every week is winning the turnover battle, and the quarterback plays huge in that role. So when we take care of the football, you don't have to win the game on every play. You just have to win that play. And we win more plays than they do, and we end up winning the game.
Some people looking at the box score too from Saturday night might talk about there being garbage time points put up at the end, but do those points help build confidence in guys as they, pick up their first touchdown receptions of the season? They pick up some of those first. Does that help in that sense?
Yeah, and for us, the fourth quarter was second and third stringers getting reps, and we'll never put a player on the field and tell him not to score or not to do his absolute best. So. The bright side is when we've got second and third stringers going in and making big plays, that gives us confidence for them in the future. The only way to get game experience is by getting game experience. So those opportunities where we have to get guys game reps so they know what game speed is like. When we need to rely on them in crucial situations later, they'll have at least something to lean on for experience.
And looking ahead to Langley this week, kind of an interesting matchup just based on the fact that both teams have had similar starts to the season. They're obviously 1-1, but both first games for each team was a close one. They lost just by a touchdown. And then this past week, both shutout blowouts for those teams. So how do you think this team matches up against Langley?
Well, I think Langley's a very well-coached team. Their staff has been around for a while. They've been, consistently in the upper echelon of the league. So we're going to have our hands full physically. They've got some great playmakers offensively, defensively. But I think across the board, we can win most of those matchups. Being healthy is part of it, but also just playing on the road and having our wits about us and making sure that we continue to do those assignments and continue to have guys make, rally to make gang tackles and not get down on ourselves when things do get tough. So it's a tough place to play at McLeod Stadium. They bring out a good crowd, and they got great community support, so we just have to be really focused.
Welcome back here to Sunspots here on Shaw TV. Evan Cooke here alongside Okanagan Sun quarterback Nick Wenman, fresh off the big win on Saturday night against Kamloops. First, let's just talk about how that game went for you, but specifically maybe the lead up to it, because you knew early in the week that you were going to get that start, so it wasn't a surprise, and you kind of had a few days to prepare for it. How does it change preparing for a game that you're going to start?
You definitely have to prepare a little bit more mentally, and you're getting a lot more reps in practice, so just kind of got to be a little more focused than you normally would be. But nothing really changes. You always want to practice and practice like you're the starter, just because you never know when you're going to be in, right? So.
Yeah, absolutely. And as far as the Kamloops game went, were there things that you as an offense wanted to do initially in that game to sort of set the tone early?
Yeah, we definitely wanted to go into halftime with a lot more points. We got in the end zone a couple times, but just penalties and just mental errors like that kind of set us back. Kind of just shot ourselves in the foot a little bit. But other than that, just kind of wanted to go into halftime with a few more points on the board.
For sure, because you started the year as the backup on this team, but you're a veteran guy who's been here for a few years now. Does that experience make it easier to step in a situation like this where you're comfortable with the offense, you're comfortable with the guys, and you can kind of step in easier?
Yeah, it definitely does. Knowing the guys you're playing with, you have better chemistry on the field and off the field as well. So it definitely helps, being around the program a bit longer.
And that first touchdown, for example, I think back to where, Mosley was wide open there.
Oh, yeah.
How did he get that wide open on that first score?
It was just a good play call and just a nice rope by Mosley, and he just took off and it was just playing catch. So
yeah, probably one of the easier touchdown passes for you.
It was pretty sweet.
And you mentioned that points were tough to come by early, and penalties, of course, was one of the things there. But when you get into a sequence like that, where you guys are putting good series together and you're doing good things and moving up the field, but the points just aren't coming, how do you kind of make sure that you don't get too frustrated there and just keep doing the things that are making you successful?
We were getting the end zone, so that's good. Helps build confidence. So going into the second half, I was feeling good that we could move the ball. We showed that we could move the ball, passing, running. So I just had to eliminate the penalties, and I knew we'd put up some points on the board. And just, yeah.
And with a game like that where you guys were spending a lot of time on the field, did it kind of feel like, okay, if we keep doing this, it's only a matter of time till the points are going to come?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I think we're the only team in the league that can beat us, and it's just we just have to eliminate penalties. And I mean, we're going to move the ball on any team, I think. So just have to stay disciplined and just execute every week.
For sure. And as you move forward here, what's it going to be like for this week in practice? What kinds of things do you guys really want to work on here as you approach a meeting with Langley?
Just get better every day at what we do. Just everything we do, just get better at it. I mean, it's not too much we really have to change. Just got to eliminate penalties, stay more disciplined, and just get better. I mean.
Yeah, and in terms of the discipline factor, what were you seeing with those penalties? I mean, it seemed like they weren't the types of penalties where it's the other guys on the team getting under your skin. It didn't seem like that.
Yeah, no,
it was more technical ones.
Yeah, it was more so our guys were flying around making plays, and it just kind of happened. I think we just kind of overpowered them, and it just kind of happened. I guess it's nothing too extreme, but.
And as a guy that's been around you've been around for a few years now. I mean, I hate asking guys to compare teams past to teams present, but where does this offense kind of compare to ones that you've played with in the past?
I think right now we're probably ahead of Week 8's offense of last year. I think we're moving the ball really well, and it shows on the field and in practice as well.
And, in terms of moving the ball well, too, I mean, you mentioned the start that you guys wanted to get out to. It seemed like you weren't too focused on trying to keep things too simple or try to keep things too one-dimensional. It seemed like there was a good mix going on there of putting the ball in the air, keeping it on the ground, and keeping them guessing.
Yeah, we stayed pretty balanced throughout the whole game, and it was nice knowing we could pass the ball when we wanted to and run the ball when we wanted to. So it takes a lot of pressure off me when I know I can hand off to guys like Curry and Robbie and know that they're going to get yards and that the O-line is going to protect me all game. So.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about the O-line, who are often a group of guys that don't get a lot of the glory, but it seemed like early in the game they kind of helped you set a tone in terms of giving you time and space to make some plays early and get your feet under you.
Yeah, it was nice. I think every hit I took that game was probably my fault. I think the O-line played phenomenal, and yeah, I think if they just keep grinding, it's going to be a big year for us. It all starts with them, so.
And I wanted to ask you, too, about going to Langley this week, obviously the first week of the season where you won't be at home playing. But is it kind of nice, is the flip side of it, I guess, kind of nice where you guys get a road trip in and kind of spend more time with each other leading up to the game than you would if you were at home?
Yeah, it's definitely a lot more team bonding on road trips, hanging out with the guys on the buses, the hotels, and you just kind of like bond with each other a little bit more. So away games are definitely nice.
And again, I say I don't like asking you to compare, but I'll do it again for this question.
Right.
Just in terms of what the vibe is in the room, how close guys are. Is this a tight-knit group? Because there are guys that I've talked to on the team this year that have kind of said that this group feels like a pretty tight one.
That was a big factor in me coming to the Sun in the first place. Is everyone just had like a really tight-knit vibe. Like everyone was really close on the field and off the field. And that was a big reason on why I came here. It's very family-oriented. And that's just why I love this program so much.
Well, the Sun back in action this Saturday evening in Langley. It's going to be a 5 o'clock kickoff from Langley, so you can catch that broadcast. The pregame show starting at 4:30 on AM 1150. I'm Evan Cooke. Thanks for watching this week.